man. You understand? Like these books right here, these the words of men. That's what these are. When we're reading in the dictionary that says another realm of the devil and the demons which are damned and suffered everlasting punishment. Man, this is what Webster tell you. That's how they define the word hell. But notice they had to put the real deal in there too, because the definition is basically a place or state of misery, a torment, or wickedness. And yes, the grave is a state of misery. Or when you can't pay your bills, that's a state of misery too. Or when Jonah was in the well, or belly of the whale, that sure was a state of misery. Let's go to Matthew chapter 13. Matthew chapter 13. And when you get to verse 36, you can go ahead and read.
Then Jesus sent the multitude away and went into the house. And his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare to us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world.
Alright, now Jesus, and I like Jesus. I mean, when I say I like him, I mean, I just like how cool he was about how he went about his business. You know, he got a few people out here in the world, like the book say, narrow is the way that leads to life, and few be that find it. He got a few people that's in the world that he trying to talk to. So he talked in a I guess we could say a secret way, but really he talk in a riddle, or what we like to be known as called parables. So he talking in the parable, and he telling them about the seed and the sower, right? But as he done telling them the parable of the seed and the sower, and he started to break it down, he started to tell you about where the wicked went, right? So he says, as therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire. Actually, this is the parable of, yeah. And he says, are burned in the fire, so then it should be at the end of the world. So it don't show you that people burned in the fire right now. You don't die and go directly to hell, brothers and sisters. You go, like Job said, to the ground. Verse 41, go ahead.
The Son of Man shall send forth his angels.
So we seeing the same things that we've been seeing when we talking about this. We see the angels. Go ahead.
And they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth.
Okay, so it said, it said it was going to be wailing and gnashing of teeth. What make you wail and gnash your teeth? Pain. So now we don't just see lake of fire, everlasting burning, but we see wailing and gnashing of teeth. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 66. Show you more. You don't want to believe this lake of fire. See, brothers and sisters, fear is what's going to cause you to do what God wants you to do. You know, when you know God, you know, we used to have a little joke. Somebody tell a little white lie. You know, we be joking around, playing. You might don't believe what somebody's saying. You know, like they might be, yeah, you know, I won 3 games of 21. We played basketball. Then somebody might say, think about the lake. See, and we would do that in humor, but the reality is, you know, this is what you need to think about. This is what's going to stop you from sinning. You think about the lake of fire, you're thinking of weeping and gnashing of teeth. Or you're thinking about fire, everlasting fire. Okay, we talking about the lake of fire. Yeah, that's going to be hell. Isaiah chapter 66, pick it up at verse 15. I'm going to show you some more about this lake of fire.
For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with our flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh and the abomination, and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory.
Alright, let's skip down to verse 22.
For as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord.
Now the Lord, he gonna bring men back to the, to where they, when he come back, he gonna establish his kingdom on earth, and he gonna bring men back to where they need to be. If you Irish, you gonna go to your country. If you African, you gonna go to the land of Ham. If you Pakistani, I guess you gonna go to Pakistan. But the Lord is gonna set up his kingdom in Jerusalem, right? And then he telling you, and it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come and worship before me, saith the Lord. And this after he come back now. Go ahead, read verse 24.
And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh.
All right, now we're gonna go to Revelation 19, but let's think about what we just. You can go ahead and turn. Let's think about what we just saw here. We just seen weeping and gnashing of teeth, and now we see worms that don't die. That's gonna be biting on you. When you in the lake of fire. And this ain't gonna be nothing pleasant. This ain't gonna be nothing stupid like purgatory, where you got sets and levels of hell. And if you wasn't that bad of a guy, then you might have a spot that ain't that bad. Man, we don't read that. That would be nice in theory. You know what I'm saying? But that ain't what we're reading, brothers and sisters. I'm sorry. It say worms gonna be eating on you. It's gonna be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And something that we also picked up here is, in which we're gonna find in Revelation 19, is it's gonna be two people there for all the world to see, right next to Jerusalem. Revelations, and this is gonna be after the coming of the Lord. After the first resurrection. Revelations chapter 19, and pick it up at verse 19. And you get to go ahead and read.
And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse, and against his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone.
Okay, so how that worked, and we're gonna end up reading it too, but I'm gonna sum it up real quick. The Lord gonna come back, and he gonna resurrect the saints. Okay, then once he resurrect the saints, then he gonna establish his kingdom here. But when he resurrect the saints, he gonna take over the world by force. So since he taking over the world by force, the two that's ruling the world when he decides to do this, he throwing them in hell first, or better yet, the lake of fire. That's what we read. It said both of them were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. We didn't even see both of them was cast in hell. See, that's how we play it as regular people. That's how we spit it. But that's not what it say. So it say they going to get put in hell, and they gonna be in that hell. Excuse me. They gonna be in that lake of fire for 1,000 years, and people gonna be able to go to Jerusalem like we read in Isaiah 66. And when they come up to see the Lord, they gonna also see them two men that's over there as a reminder. You don't want to fool around with this. Let's go over to Luke chapter 16. Because again, and we talked about this earlier about the Lord talking in parables. So now we got one parable. And this parable here, it confuses people. It really does. And we're going to read this parable.